Okay. Just checking some things here. Hello, folks, in case you guys are watching. I'm just refreshing some things. Hi, Nay West. Cool, we got some folks going on already. Okay, how do you do, ladies and gentlemen? It's a pleasure to have you all here today. My name is Dustin Cormier, and this is How to Rock Spirit. I've been doing these Chinese astrology videos. I want to relate Chinese astrology to tropical astrology. At the present time, we are just unfolding Chinese astrology, particularly, and how to calculate what's called the Ba Zi. Ba Zi means 8 characters. It's synonymous with Si Zu, which means the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars are the year, the month, the day, and the hour of birth. Each one of those has 2 components, the heaven stem and the branch. And that's why the 4 pillars is actually 8 different characters. And that's what we call the Ba Zi. Thanks for coming, folks. Today's going to be a lot of fun. We've been marking out how to calculate the Ba Zi. And particularly in our last class, we learned how to analyze the Ba Zi, to take all the different points of the basic fundamental elements of analysis and relating how they come out in financial luck and in romance luck and in personal balance, especially the balance of the day stem. All of our writing and lessons, of course, are coming from our text source, Calculating the Ba Zi by Dr. Karin Taylor Wu. She is the wife and partner of a well-known Taoist practitioner named Master Zhongzhang Wu. And that is where this lineage for this video, the text source for this video comes from. And I hope you guys enjoy. Today should be a lot of fun, and we got lots to go through. So, without further ado, this is a live stream. Eventually, I expect to get more people being a part of this live stream, but for now, I'm just chunking out these videos. But if anybody is watching and would like to make a point, your points will be seen. Hola, Nola Bison 26. And my friend Nay West. It's nice to see you guys here to join the party. If you guys have any questions, I will try to answer them, especially if they relate to our discussion in question. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now, as usual, I've got a little presentation set up for us here. Let's see if we can get that rolling. Yeah. Okay, folks. This is our final episode of our Chinese Ba Zi explanation series. It's called Putting It All Together. We're going to put together all of the different parts of what we've done so far. I've made a note here for anybody who's interested. Sorry, let me just check. Oh yeah, you can see. Okay. For all inquiries, I should say that I think eventually this Ba Zi calculation thing might very much be something that I'm into. You're going to see that I've laid out through, just like, Microsoft Paint, all these different figures for the charts of 2 particular example charts provided by our text source. If anybody is interested in me providing a similar Ba Zi analysis, admittedly at the present moment, I'm getting really a lot better at this, but I've only read our text source, as well as, lots of other Chinese astrology books, but nothing gets at calculating and analyzing the Ba Zi chart like this book. That being said, this book is only a precursory explanation of the Ba Zi. There's much more to learn, and there's much more for me to learn. And I expect that there's a lot more for me to learn before I start offering this as a professional service. But, the more people email me and tell me that they would be willing to do it, the more motivated I'll be to get that going on. So feel free to send me an email at dustincormierastrology@gmail.com with any concerns, thoughts, and perhaps even motivation to get my butt into gear, and to offer this as a professional service. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Putting it all together. Today, we put together all of the fundamental mechanics and relationships that we've learned about so far in Chinese astrology throughout our lessons. We're going to integrate them into a holistic, integrated picture. That's what we're doing today. Working with the Bazi requires mechanical precision with respect to the calculations, as well as a highly refined and ever-evolving ability to decode alchemical processes. We have to get right down and perfect in the details, because if we're not perfect with our details, that will skew the bigger alchemical motions that we're trying to use in our life in relation to our chart. If the calculations are skewed, then it's pointless to try to think about our lives in relation to Chinese astrology, because the figures of the calculation are what make the figures of analysis. So feel free to check out our Calculating the Bazi video if you want to get perfect on your analysis. But generally speaking, I try to say this for every single video that we do. If you are interested, let's see, if you are interested, or well, for your interest, these two these two websites here provide a digital software calculation online where you can find your chart expressed as the hour, the month, the day, the month, and the year pillar, the 4 pillars. You can get the basics of your chart there, and then from there, find out the rest of what you need, hopefully, through our text source, and to do the calculations yourself. Where it comes to Shen Sha and a lot of the chart, you're going to need to calculate on your own without just the help of those two websites. Simply because if you do the calculations yourself, you know that there's no digital errors being made on your part. Plus, learning to calculate the Bazi also helps you to understand the Bazi. So, we're going to start getting into some chart. For example, we've got an example chart here, and we're going to be talking about it. We got 2 example charts we're going to talk about today. But first, just some general analytical keys. These are good keys to keep in mind for any analysis that we do in Bazi. And this is from the author. Whenever we read a chart, the key point is to check whether the element of the day stem is in balance with respect to the rest of the chart. The day stem, of course, we know is the heaven stem of the day pillar. For example, in this example chart, we can see that the day pillar is wood snake. Therefore, wood, being the day stem, is the central figure of this person's chart. And the balance of that day stem with the relation to the rest of the chart is the final statement of internal balance of the subliminal psyche and nervous system of the person in question, or at least the ease with which they attain a state of harmony. But of course, even a person with an easy chart still has to maintain the belt. It's like when a wrestler wins the big belt, they can't just say they've won it forever. They got to hold that belt and keep playing the game. So, with respect to that, likewise, a person who has an imbalance between the day stem and the rest of the chart, which most people do, that person is going to just have to find a way to keep that balance. And they'll have a harder time balancing their nervous system with the world around them. But, nothing makes a game fun like it being challenging, Sometimes those challenges can reap greater spiritual rewards. And I think that's part of what this whole Bazi thing is all about. Most of us have an imbalanced chart. Most of us have a disconnect between our day stem, which is the central figure in the chart, and everything else in our life, the commander and the day branch, etc. And therefore, everybody has many opportunities to find balance and yoga, and to unfold the love natural to the nervous system. So we should take these imbalances as a beautiful challenge, because that's what they are. Very generally speaking, I guess I should say that's like my spiritual perspective on the balance of the Bazi chart. Very generally speaking, a person with a balanced day stem will have a smoothly flowing experience of life's ups and downs. In comparison, a person with an unbalanced day stem, which means it's either excess, there's too much of the element represented by the wood stem or the day stem, or there's not enough of the element represented by the day stem. So a person with an unbalanced day stem, they may experience more bumps along the way, on the road of life. And they may be, by and large, more in need of external support, because the nervous system has a hard time finding peace, inner peace, nervous system peace. My impression of Chinese astrology is that it's very neurological. It's very much trying to find peace in the naturally unfolding nature of the nervous system. And so it may be, someone with a balanced day stem can probably find the balance between the day stem, the commander, and the day branch. It kind of comes a little bit easier, and so they can help to pour out their nervous system bliss to other people in a little bit better of a fashion. And if they don't, they might waste their karma, It tends to be that the sagacious people who have a sagacious chart in Chinese astrology have to share it and give it up. Or else in the next life, they'll probably have a weird kink that puts them out of balance if they take their sagacious karma and hold it all for themselves. In any case, someone with an unbalanced day stem, their nervous system will probably need the external support of other people more so. Which is probably it's a more beautiful way to look at it anyway. Because, Chinese astrology teaches us that our nervous systems are outside of ourselves. And everything outside of ourselves must find harmony with the ecology all around it. Or else we won't be truly happy and spiritually satisfied, no matter how balanced our day stem is. About auspicious elements. Now, when we say auspicious elements, you're going to remember the birth control principles of the Wu Tsing and how balanced the day stem is to what's called the talent star and the money star. And that's something we're going to be coming along about. Essentially, the talent star is always the element that is fed by the day stem, which drains the day stem. And the money star is the element which is fed by and which drains the talent star. For the purposes of our text, auspicious elements are those related to the money element and talent element. That's the source of money only. So in our particular, in our book and in our text, the author, Dr. Karin Taylor Wu, has wanted to give us a basic feeling of the chart, a basic conception for the elements in the chart. And so what she gave us is the day stem as the center, the talent element as the one after the day stem, and the money element is the one after the talent element. The money element, the talent element is the source, the one that gives birth to the money element. So with these three in mind, these provide cursory information about a person's financial prosperity. Chinese astrology is big on, again, nervous system and on material reality, and they tend to be, so far as I've seen, a critical component in describing luck, the luck of a person, material luck specifically. Now, I find, like, philosophically that if a person has this luck, it means that they've been listening to their nervous system, getting in tune with it, and trying to indulge the material world and to get rich or to be wealthy or whatever from the central stem of their heart. When you have been listening to your nervous system and you listen to the blissful emotional release that your own nervous system is seeking when you try to survive in the material world, you don't just smash it out at some job that you hate just so that you can barely survive and keep all your love for yourself. You listen to how your nervous system hums with the nervous system of other people through self-realization and self-awareness and meditation. You find out where your heart wants to go with other people, and if you come from that center of the heart in the material world, you can still get your material fortunes, and it will be easier for you to have the energy and vitality and chi in your energy field to pursue the opportunities that the luck cycle provides for you. Everybody has these opportunities, and everybody has luck somewhere and at some point. Chinese astrology teaches us that listening to the nervous system and to the way of the heart and the way of chi will make it easier for us to carry ourselves towards putting effort to the opportunities that could give us material luck. But in any case, there's more to the Taoist fortune cycles of luck karma than these lessons that I'm giving you guys can convey. Because the teacher of our book has only given us the basic fundamentals. So, and the author reminds us of this fact in the book. And so I must concede with the author, Dr. Karin Taylor Wu, in repeating that this knowledge of these videos is only the basics of Chinese astrology, and it should be treated as such. I'm somebody who found this book and have regurgitated most of all, these basics, right? But I, just like anybody else who might be following me or anybody else who might be engaged in learning to do Chinese astrology, we're all in this together. We're all really learning as Westerners. We're all really learning how to decode what the Chinese astrology is all about together. So for now, it is good for us to know that we're not geniuses at this yet. So you shouldn't read what I give you or what anybody gives you in regards to the money element, the talent element, and your whole Ba-Z chart until you're a master practitioner or you've seen the whole thing, like Master Zhongseng Wu has, for example. I wouldn't change your life too much based on the information given in these basic lessons. Especially because it's such a new field in the West. Tropical astrology has had a lot more time to be digested by the Western mind. I would see a Western astrologer and change my life to what they give me before I would with a Chinese astrologer, unless that Chinese astrologer can prove to me that they have the whole thing figured out. In any case, it's just good for us to be objective about our state of knowledge in regards to these lessons. I should also say that even if I was a genius, perfectly knowledgeable Ba-Z practitioner and professional Taoist astrologer, I would still also consider that other astrology fields outside of Taoist astrology must be considered when you're trying to find self-realization. This includes tropical astrology, which pertains to Western and Vedic astrology, which is those which are measured tropically, and also the nakshatras, which is a sidereal astrology science all on its own. All three of these fixtures, the nakshatras, tropical astrology, Western astrology, and Chinese Qi, Taoist astrology, all three of these are important where regards self-realization. It's one of the big things I've been trying to say with all these videos. Now, we're almost done here, folks. We're almost getting into it. Just all these little precursory things help us to understand what it is we're getting into. I should say a word about what's called the balance element. Dr. Karin Taylor Wu notes that there's something called the balance element. It's a sophisticated tool used in high-level Bazi analysis. Aptly named, it's the element that brings balance to the entire chart. What it is when a person is direly lacking an element which could give them a great surplus of the energy, the psychological energy that they need. a Bazi astrologer can tell that person, look, you don't have enough fire to provide your money star, so why don't you start grounding yourself in your life by wearing things that are red, putting red items in your house. It's sort of like a feng shui thing, You ground the intention through material objects which symbolize the intention, and eventually you get more of that thing in your life. If you understand how the color or the object that symbolizes your intention, as long as you understand how the symbol relates to the part of your chart that you're trying to reintegrate into your energy field. So this is what this balance element is all about. But she doesn't distinctly give us a perfect formula for that, because it's a very it's a mobile formula. There's not really a formula for it. You really got to eyeball it. You got to take in the whole chart, see all the little details, which only a true Taoist practitioner can do, If you're not a master and you tell somebody to be obsessed with the color blue because that you need more blue in your life, and you just kind of thought that that'd be a good thing to tell them, then this person becomes obsessed with the color blue, and maybe they already have an excess of like water in their chart, and you didn't end up helping them. Or blue sometimes actually relates with wood. But in any case, make sure that this is the reason why we're talking about the balance element, but we don't actually discuss it, because it's a high-end technique, as Dr. Karin Taylor Wu tells us. Based on the overall elemental patterns of the Bazi, a skilled practitioner can easily provide a significant amount of worthy general recommendations without knowing the balance element. So this is her saying, like, you can still tell somebody some things, but just make sure that they know where that consciousness is coming from, which is a general picture. But once you are skilled at correctly assessing the balance element, the practitioner will be able to present each client with very detailed and specific and often life-changing advice, which, when the person actually does it, it will improve the quality of his or her experience of daily living on many, many levels. This is something that Chinese astrology purports to be true, and we will never know for sure as astrological scientists until we start getting some data on it, which I encourage everybody to do who is watching these videos. Join the party, join the fun, learn about Bazi, get a sense of this balance element, which is something I'm going to aspire to do at some point. And then we shall see if Chinese astrology, as I believe it does, really has an improvement of life quality to offer to us. Now, we're going to go through some example charts, as I said. These example charts are of real people, printed with permission given to the author, Dr. Karin Taylor Wu, for the purposes of providing field notes to the science of Bazi analysis. So these are real people, and these people actually, I'm going to go through some commentary of what the people think. Dr. Karin Taylor Wu has analyzed the charts of these people and broken down each point, and then each person provides a commentary on all those points. And we're going to go through a lot of the commentary on the chart of these people that we're analyzing. But, not a crazy amount of it, just enough for us to get a sense that the person either agreed or disagreed with the information presented. In any case, these are real people. So before I do that, I'm going to peek one last time at our comments, see how the peeps are doing. Oh, nice. Hi, Goosey. My friend Nay Wes has asked, should I watch previous videos to get caught up? For this particular video, my friend, I would say that if you are still watching, Nay West, you might get something out of this video because it's a condensation of all the videos from before. I'm trying to make this video universally linked into all the other videos. So this will be like, a diamond of what it's all about, and then you can unfurl that diamond by watching the other videos, if you are interested. But this video, I am trying to make it an overarching picture of the whole thing. Now I'm just going to squirrel my hair out a little bit, because I'm a freaking diva. There we go. I like it when my hair's more poofed out. Okay. Enough about me, said the Leo. Okay. Now let's get started on our analysis of our first example chart with our friend Jani Yang. Here's a little picture of her chart. We've got wood monkey on the year pillar, fire tiger on the month pillar, wood snake on the day pillar, and fire dog on the hour pillar. The Daiwan is the moment of conception, which we've talked about in our number 3. Same thing with Ming Gong. Episode 3 in this series tells what all of these are and what all of these mean. Our main focus for the first little bit is going to be on the 4 pillars, particularly in 3 parts of the 4-pillar chart, which are the most important. Before we get there, I'm just going to show you guys a picture of Jani Yang's Da Yun. The Da Yun is like the transits of Taoist astrology. If any Western astrologers are watching, it's transits in sort of like the dashas almost. You go through 10-year periods under a certain sign, and the whole 10-year period is steeped internally from your cosmic perspective in the sign in question. For example, from 1946 to 1956, our example chart, Jani Yang, was steeped. Her life was steeped in the wood ox vibration. And everything in her chart had to deal with that vibration. Some people can deal with a Da Yun like this in a great way. If you've got like a rooster commander, or if you've got a fire day stem, that means that this yin wood day stem would help to support your day stem. These are examples of how the Chinese astrology transits can affect the chart in question. Before we get there, what we want to talk about first is the basic diagnosis of the 3 most important elements of the chart. And the 3 most important elements of the chart all dance around the central element, which is the emperor, which is the day stem. So this is the condensed diamond of the chart. This is the eye of the chart. The pupil of the chart is the emperor, the day stem. In this case, the heaven stem of the day pillar is wood, because wood snake is the whole day pillar. So the stem is yin wood, because yin snake is an even numbered sign, which means it's yin numerically and physically in its physical body. So that means that it must be yin wood on the day stem. That is the pupil of the eye, and the eye itself is these 3 signs. Technically, within these 3, there's an okay flow going here, because we can see that the day stem is wood, and the commander is also wood, and the commander helps the day stem to grow. It'd be better if the commander was like, for example, the element that supports the day stem, which would be water. If we had a water commander, such as boar or rat, the commander would control this day branch. The water of the month branch would control the fire of the day branch, and the water would also support and build up the wood of the day stem. That's sort of like the ideal scenario. It hardly ever unfolds like that. It hardly ever unfolds perfectly in Chinese astrology. We're going to find that Dr. Karin Taylor Wu gives this chart an overall imbalance of that day stem, even though it looks kind of peachy in this first picture. She tends to be very, you know, realistic or less. She's optimistic overall, but the optimism comes from a realism which says most charts are out of balance. You know, it's not a good thing to tell yourself that it's an okay chart or, you know, it's a good looking chart when there's an essential imbalance in the nervous system that has to be figured out. Once you can face the fact that most of us are unbalanced in our nervous system, then you can be optimistic about it and say, thank God we have something to enact yoga through. Now, Jani Yang's day stem is Yi. That's yin wood. Our text source gives us for each day stem, you might have seen it in our Calculating the Ba Zi, episode 3. Each day stem is given a little synopsis, a little picture of what it's all about, and that's what this comes from. So when someone has a yin wood day stem, they are flexible, gentle, compassionate, kind, strong and vital, which also makes them stiff sometimes, strong-tempered, and raging, when they can often be raging personalities because this wood is creeping out of them so consistently. So, since she has a yin wood day stem, when her health is challenged, supporting the function of her liver and immune system will be key in helping her return to optimal health. She could have symptoms related to neck stiffness, tight ligaments, hepatitis, decreased immune function, arthritis, and depression. These all kind of come from the nature of a yin wood day stem. Now we're going to see her commentary on what Dr. Karin Taylor Wu says about her chart after this little bit here. Yeah, read Jani Yang's commentary. So, I've included this in here just to show you a quick picture of Wu Tsing. It's the birth control principles of the 5 element phases. You can see wood is drained by fire, fire is drained by earth, earth is drained by metal. This is the birth principle, you know, which means that wood gives birth to fire. And in order for wood to give birth to fire, wood must give of itself and put effort into fire. There's also a control principle here. We can see that water controls fire, fire exerts energy to control metal, metal exerts energy to control wood, etc. And these all happen all at once in an interchanging singular picture. Now, I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit. Sometimes my computer treats me a little funky here. Now, as I said, our overall assessment of Jani Yang's day stem is that we have an incidence of weak wood. Therefore, there is an imbalance in this day stem. Again, you'll see that most charts are imbalanced this way. So, let's take a look at this chart real quick. Now, she's going to mention that the year stem of the year pillar is wood, and that helps to keep things going. And also the commander, of course, is tiger, which is yang wood. That also helps the day stem. But we're going to see, with an overall confluence of everything in the chart, because we can never look at one isolated picture, just like the superstars in the tropical astrology world, like Victor Kara and Ryan Kirkzak, just like those guys always tell us. You have to see all the individual details in the big picture of the confluence of everything in the chart in order to really dissect each individual little bit. So even though we see lots of wood in here, overall, as we can see in this chart, we see a lot of fire. Fire is the child of wood, which means it is draining to the day stem. We can see, although Jani's day stem, this is Jani Yang, that's who we're talking about. Although Jani's day stem, which is yin wood, it does have support from the wood commander, the tiger, and it also has it from the year stem, which is this yang wood on the year stem. Still, it is not enough to maintain a steady energy in the face of all this fire. We're going to pick away at all that, but we can see here the month stem is Bing, it's yang fire. The hour stem is yang fire. The day branch is also yang fire. We'll note that the snake's energetic body is actually yang fire. If you want to learn about the energetic body of each of these branches, you can look on episode 2, where we talk about analyzing what makes up each animal. But essentially, when you're looking at the branch, you don't think about the heaven stem at all. Each branch has its own fixture of its element. And it's different than you'd think. For example, dog, even though it's in the metal side of the sphere, dog's considered an earth element. If you want to know the exact breakdown of each animal's branch nature, check out episode 2 in the series. That's when we talk about it. But in any case, from the month stem being fire, the hour stem being fire, the day branch being fire, fully fire, snake, as well as the Daiwan being yin, ding snake, which is already, snake is already a lot of fire. To add the fire heaven stem makes it even heavier. And even the Ming Gong, the branch of the Ming Gong is snake, which is also fire. So there's a lot of fire in this chart where you really see it. And, if everything else balanced itself, it'd be like whatever. But we know that fire is the child of wood. And wood is supposed to be the central figure of the chart. This is a part of the deepest heart of the person, which is always active. Even when they're not, the commander, tries to manifest its reality. The day branch tries to express it and to get everyone involved with the person into their reality. But even when the person is not using the commander, even when the person's not using the day branch, the wood, the day stem is just what their natural mind, what their natural nervous system prefers to unfold like. And this person's natural nervous system, being the wood stem, is drained by the day branch of fire, plus all the other fire that's going on in this chart. Now, we suspect, let's see here, we suspect that Jani Yang has great joy and passion in her life, and she also has a strong drive to help others. What's this coming from? This whole synopsis is given from Dr. Karin Taylor Wu in a big thing, and I've broken it down a bit here. Dr. Karin says that this chart shows that it has great joy, and the person in this chart probably has passion in her life and a strong drive to help others. My interpretation of this is that the day branch is the snake. So we can see, this stupid thing. The day branch is the snake, and the day branch is fed by the day stem, right? Which means this person is a bit self-sacrificing. The day branch is called the partner. It's sort of like the 7th house. Out of those 3 figures that we said, these 3 main figures, the day branch, that snake position, it means the partner. And that is the partnering of this person with everything in their reality, outside themselves. So, since the wood day stem, which represents her, is the parent who feeds the element of the day branch, We suspect that she has great joy and passion in giving to others, but it is still draining to the Destem, as we see that the fire of snake, drains the wood of the Destem. Dr. Karin Taylor Wu notes that this person has literary talent and is likely to be a gifted writer and avid reader. I would note that this comes from some things which we're going to read about later in the chart. This includes a strong talent star emphasis. Her talent, the talent star of Jani Yang, is fire, since her Destem is wood. And we're going to learn about that in a moment. So, with all this fire, she has a very emphasized talent star, strong talent star emphasis. And that provides her with some talent and some gifts in what she wants to do. The Wen Chang is Shen Sha. I guess before I should say this, I should also say that having the snake on her Ming Gong, which is also a Wen Chang symbol for her. The snake on the Ming Gong has like literary talent, usually. They're very knowledgeable. That's a point that we're going to read again in a little while. And Wen Chang is one of the Shen Sha pieces. That's this Shen Sha thing. It's these extra qualities that get allotted to each chart, which again, we're going to combine in this reading. So for now, consider this statement that she has literary talent and is likely a gifted writer and avid reader. That comes from a few things that we're going to read about after this initial analysis. Because of the fire in her chart, this person has an inner drive to be active, which may end up leaving her feeling exhausted. Anybody with a lot of fire in their chart, even if it was balanced, the fire would still cause them a sort of exhaustion, particularly if it's excess fire. The excess fire in her chart points to a potential weakness in heart function and problems with eyesight. You'll notice Chinese astrology always gives us great little pictures of the qi field, which is what affects the nervous system. The nervous system is a funny living mycelium network of the body. And if you drain too much of one part of the shamanic dimension of the psyche, it means that other parts are either in excess or that this part's deficient. What you want to do is balance them all together. And if you don't, those parts that are deficient will reflect actually in the workings of the physical, biological body. Chinese astrology is big on how the mind is affected by the failure of the organs of the body, because it's all one organ. Organism, I should say. That was the word I should have said. So we're still talking about the overall assessment of the imbalanced Destem of this particular person. Let's see. So metal is also not that strongly represented. Even though she's got monkey on the year branch doesn't do that much anyway. And you'll even notice lots of different hidden stems have metal. Still, I think my interpretation is that there's so much fire in this chart. Remember that fire, in the controlling principle, fire controls and burns and melts and refines metal, which can be good, but since there's an excess of fire in this chart, metal is not strongly represented. All of the fire in this person melts the metal. This suggests that she probably has inadequate lung function, and she even carries a certain degree of sadness throughout her life. Maybe it's because the person is so fiery and is so focused on expressing energy that they don't conduct a qigong of nervous connection to the lung system, because the lungs are connected to metal. Metal is connected to industry, and I almost consider it as like a connection to harnessing your nervous system. And since this person is so fiery, they aspire so much to the heights of something that they don't allow themselves to work in a way that is satisfying. They're never satisfied, because that's what fire very much represents. It's like a discontent. I'm not satisfied yet. And so fire just keeps climbing and keeps climbing. And if you don't have any metal, metal works in order to be satisfied, and it provides a routine way of satisfying itself. And if you're all fire, it's going to be harder to stick to a routine, and it's going to be harder to have a consistent feeling of satisfaction in life. And that's why this person might carry a certain degree of sadness throughout their life. That is my interpretation of the excess fire creating a deficient metal in this particular chart. With this imbalanced day stem, since her wood, her yin wood day stem, is a little bit deficient because of all the fire, we suspect that she, Jani Yang, experiences an ineffective immune response at times, because the immune system is very much related to wood. So now that we've gone through that, this is the sort of overall big picture of this chart. It's really the most important dynamics that we've just described in this person's chart. Let's see what she thinks of this little presentation and analysis. This is Jani Yang's actual commentary on what Dr. Karin Taylor Wu said about her chart. Jani Yang says that I do feel depressed at times, but not often, and it's easy to come out of it. She had a temper when she was younger, but these days she's more even-tempered and has less rage. Her rage is more against injustice and atrocities against other human beings. She says it's right on target that she's been having neck pain and stiffness, tight ligaments, especially around the neck. As if you would notice, she's a very aged woman at this point. She's probably about 70 years old. So it is cool that her health ailments, everybody gets to a point where their body starts to fail them at a certain point. And it is interesting that she describes positive correlation to the weak day stem in her old age. And she says, all in all, the analysis is correct, which is pretty cool. So, these commentaries just provide us a bit of objectivity so that we can see that Dr. Karin Taylor Wu's analysis has some degree of glue in the person's experience. Mind you, the people who she's getting commentary from aren't always Bazi practitioners. It's just a little bit of feedback in terms of our field. Now we're looking at the auspicious elements of the chart. We can see that the day stem is wood. Since the day stem is wood, the next element over is the talent star. The talent star always drains from the day stem, and the money star always drains from the talent star. Now she always talks about the money element first. Earth is Jani Yang's money element, because the money star, the money element, is always the one that is controlled by the day stem. Wood, as we can see, I like to refer back to these things. Wood controls earth. Wood gives birth to fire, right? Wood is drained by fire. And wood controls and exerts controlling influence on earth. So that's why we see that earth is Jani Yang's money element. The money element is always the one that your day stem controls. In Jani's chart, there are 3 hidden earth elements in the year, month, and day branches, and 1 earth element in the hour branch. So let's take a look at that. We see that monkey, so these are the hidden stems. The hidden stems just provide us with a little bit of extra data about each of the signs. Each sign has a little bit of these extra elements. They seem confusing at first, but if you watch our previous episodes, you'll see how the hidden stems are easy to break down. But in any case, Jani Yang has hidden earth in her year branch, hidden earth in her month branch. The tiger, believe it or not, has a bit of earth. Snake has a little bit of earth. And the dog is actually the branch, the hour branch, as we can see. The dog branch, dog's actual energetic body is yang earth, not metal, as most people think. The dog is actually an earth element. So that combined with those three hidden earths in the hidden stems, Dr. Karin Taylor Wu says that all this extra earth indicates she's been able to have some savings throughout her life. Now, fire is the talent star, which provides a platform for the earth element. Or, I mean, for the money star. The talent star is always that which births the money star. So that's why we say the talent element is the source of someone's money. So fire is Jani Yang's talent element. Fire is the source of earth. Therefore, fire is the source of her money star. As we discussed previously, Jani Yang has got a huge amount of the fire element. She is surrounded by the fire element. This signals not only that she is highly artistic and talented and gifted, but also that these gifts provide her with decent opportunities to generate some income, since she has the talent to work on whatever luck cycles through Earth are given to her. She has the fire, the talent, the platform, the opportunity to channel into the money star. Now, if we are going to read Jani Yang's commentary on that little bit, let's just see if there's anything forthcoming. She says financially she's been well provided throughout her life, although she was financially tight in the past 10 years or so. Maybe we could see that in her Da Yun. She's been producing academic works with a limited readership, so her income is rather modest. But because of the type of work she does, she's a well-known academic professional, so she has been well funded by some academic institutions, which is interesting. You know, she got connected to the money star probably through family or through whatever it might be, and she had the talent to express the connection to those earthly monetary opportunities. She had the talent and the energy to put effort into the opportunities. Because half of luck is the luck. The other half is having the luck in the nervous system to put the energy towards it. The karma. Now, if anybody wants to know what the Taiwan is, the Taiwan is the conception energy. We talk about this in episode 3 of the series. It relates to the month of conception. It's a difficult thing to pinpoint. Dr. Karin Taylor Wu has taken the diligent time and energy to research this example chart's more exact Taiwan. But all in all, it is a difficult thing to diagnose, and in my own chart, I kind of ignore it because I don't know the exact month of conception. I don't know the exact month that my mom and dad got together and had the instinct to have a baby. And that is a hard thing a difficult thing to find for most people. It doesn't make this point not any less important. I'm just I don't focus on it in my own chart because I don't know it. But when you do know it, you can find some information about it. Jani Yang's conception energy is Ding snake. Ding is fire snake. This is the fire snake. It carries fire energy, which is also her talent star. We may assume, therefore, that she inherited some of her impressive scholarly aptitude and her ability to jump on her talent star. She might have inherited some of it from her ancestral line. The conception energy tends to represent your ancestry, your lineage of your family. Jani Yang perhaps also received an inheritance as well, because fire, again, is the source of money. Since she has so much fire in the conception energy, it shows she may have received an inheritance, which would act as a support for the money star. It's funny how these Chinese astrology things work. Jani Yang notes that her mother's side produced a lot of Confucian scholars for generations working for the local lord. So that's her mother's side of her family, you know, providing an inherited scholarly aptitude. It's all a little bit subjective, but, you know, the compiling of subjective data eventually becomes objective. So that's why we are going through these little things. Now, the Ming Gong is the palace of destiny, or the place of destiny. And it is much more easy to find. It's more mathematically calculable. And it is an important fixture in anybody's chart. Now, let's see. So, Jani Yang's Ming Gong is Earth Snake. A lot of snake energy in this chart. Lots of fire. So, Si Gong Tian Wen means if you have snake as your Ming Gong, it's called Si Gong. What this is Si means snake, and Gong is harness or discipline or place of conscious or unconscious harnessing, grasping awareness. That's kind of what Gong means. So this person has a particular dimension of destiny, the Gong, and it comes through the metaphysical limb of snake. And when this happens, your destiny unfurls strongly to the vibe of the Palace of Knowledge. That's the snake, like I said. So, when you have snake as your Ming Gong, we expect Jani Yang to be very scholarly. She's likely to be someone who is advanced in life through education, and may have married or partnered with someone who is able to provide a significant amount of financial stability. I almost think of like the Ming Gong as like the Navamsha in a certain way. It says a lot about your destiny, and it's often involved in your partner, your life, the type of life partner you might attract. Excuse me, very much like the Navamsha of tropical Vedic astrology. Okay, so now we are going to get into Jani Yang's Shen Sha. It's spirits or ghosts. Shen Sha, Shen is spirits, Sha is ghosts. It's not necessarily something supernatural. It's just more of a poetic description of how positive, buoyant points of luck in the numerological matrix of your DNA code, expressed through Chinese astrology, positive, harmonious wellsprings of luck due to having sympathized with your heart and lived by the heart in the past. That shows that you have junctions of spirit, of the natural heart, connections to the blissful awareness of heart that's nestled in all things, and that's nestled in yourself. Certain parts of the chart will spring forth with positive spirit, and certain things in the chart might have a ghost, a shadow, where we have had a hard time integrating a certain dimension of the numerological maths of our energy field in the past. We have some weird chink in our harnessing and conception of our energy field and our nervous system. So we call them ghosts. Spirits come from more from us. Ghosts come from the unintegrated parts of us. And it almost seems like there's a ghost, like there's something that's messing with me. It's just a very poetic thing, which I'm sure anciently people have gotten confused by and thought like, so Shen is the real me and Sha is this malefic, ghostly, supernatural demon that won't let me go. That might have happened in the past. But for our purposes, it's good for us to be objective and to treat these as psychological archetypes and dynamics of our own doing, rather than being some part of a secret, malevolent energy field that we have no control over. As I always like to say, the only way to save yourself from your nervous system is your own nervous system. If you'd like to know more about ShenSha and how to calculate it, check out our third video in the series, which is calculating the Ba-Zi. Now we're going to talk about Jani Yang's Shen Sha in a moment. I'm just going to do a quick little peek, see if we got any cool comments. Doot-and-doot-and-doo-doo. Every now and then my thing just decides to turn off. Hi, Miss Bright. Nice to see you watching. Nice. My favorite thing about astrology, Goosey, is probably that it helps me to see myself, which means that I can be in harmony with other people, which means I can find an easier harmony in myself, which just, to me, it makes life a little bit more blissful when you're trying to really focus on something that's hard to focus on. It's hard to know your own heart, your own nervous system, and the nervous system of others, and how to make them fall together. Sometimes you just got to surrender to it and just give yourself to it, and that can often even leave you getting emotionally controlled because you've surrendered to other people. You have to find a way to keep yourself aligned while also surrendering your heart to the God of everything that exists outside of you. The best way to do it is to realize self as that bliss outside, and there is a science to it. There's a science to the DNA, and I think astrology helps us to have figures for uncovering the best way for you to deal with the forces of nature and your nervous system. So yeah, that's what I like best about astrology, is I think that it helps me to keep an eye on myself so I'm not just sticking too much to one thing without appreciating the other person's perspective. I'm sure for some people it probably goes the other way. I'm a Scorpio, so I'm just a dick, sorry. You're not a dick because you're a Scorpio, Steve. You're a dick because you're a dick. Okay. So, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, now we're coming to the next part of our example chart, which is the Shen Sha. So, our lineage, Dr. Karin Taylor Wu, she describes the Shen Sha as like side dishes. The Tian De is it's a really big auspicious symbol, and this person has it in their chart. The Tian De is a really auspicious symbol. It's almost more than a side dish, but all in all things considered, the side dish does have a lot to do with the dish. But the Shen Sha is sort of like icing on the cake. Icing is great on a cake. You might as well do the full thing if you're going to have a cake. But if you try to compensate for a bland cake by just pouring more icing on it, if the cake itself, if the eye of the chart, which is the day stem, the month branch, and the day branch, and everything else in balance with the day stem, if the day stem is way out of whack, and if you don't focus on the balance of the day stem, if you just think, I've got Tian De in my year stem, which means I don't have to work on anything. Even though I've got a bad chart, the Shen Sha will do it all. You can't have that perspective. The main perspective that you want to do with Chinese astrology Get a sense for the imbalance of the day stem, work towards that imbalance, and use the Shen Sha. Be mindful of how the opportunities and pratfalls presented by Shen Sha might help to either support or block that essential balance that comes from the day stem and everything surrounding the day stem. Shen Sha is kind of like yogas of tropical astrology, you know. Whereas with the main parts of the eye of the chart, we can see the basic figures, almost like the ascendant, the sun, and the moon in Chinese astrology. And when we get to Shen Sha, it's more like yogas, you know. You've got the first lord in the second house conjunct the eighth lord in the second house. And those two might make a certain yoga that might mean something to those figures. So that's why this shows us there's so much more to Chinese astrology than just your year sign, you know, or even just the 4 pillars. You can read about your 4 pillars and you might be missing about little key elements of each of the signs. So what Shen Sha is it gives you a breakdown of a certain boon. I consider it like a bingo card, okay? So Feng Gong means challenges and lessons of spiritual detachment. So these are the numbers that are picked for Feng Gong. This is one bingo card. Let's say tiger, rabbit, horse, and goat. If the person in question has any of these four are specific to them. Not everybody has these 4 animals as their Feng Gong symbols. This is specific to this chart. And if this person has any of these 4 animals in their 4 pillars, it's going to mean something to that point in the chart. For example, Jani Yang, as we know, has tiger on her month branch. See, the month branch is tiger here. Month branch, tiger. And the tiger is it's the part of the eye of the chart. It's a very important part, which means that she probably has a lot of lessons of spiritual detachment probably permeated her whole life, for better or worse. Usually for better with Feng Gong, although it doesn't look that way when you're going through it. Feng Gong is like it's like when you put metal into a furnace and you want to refine the metal, you heat it up and you remove the impurities. And the metal is screaming and saying, "Oh my God, I'm boiling, and these old parts of myself, I'm splitting apart." But what Feng Gong does, is it lets go of the impure and shows you how little you can be satisfied by those impure things. And it leaves nothing but the more simple desires and strands of the nervous system. The more simplistic gateways of bliss in the nervous system. That's what Feng Gong will show you. In order for you to learn the more purified gateways to bliss in the nervous system, you got to know what's not pure. And Feng Gong will do that. Feng Gong will push you to be one way, and then you'll learn that you don't get satisfied by any of these ways except for certain things in your nervous system. That's what Feng Gong teaches us, and it's usually through pain. In any case, so we can see that there's 4, this is like B5, I7, N27, G58, O61. It's like a bingo card. And Jani Yang got the B. She got one of these Feng Gong figures in her main chart. Now, Feng Gong is only one bingo card. The next bingo card is Tianyi. I was barking about... Tiande is not that auspicious symbol I was talking about. It's actually Tianyi. This figure of Tianyi, there's 2 Tianyis. One of them is medicine, and the other one is good fortune. And this is the most auspicious indicator in a chart. I'm sorry for that confusion. Now, Tianyi is a very good thing to have, and it's a bingo card. And this person, Jani Yang's, one of the symbols for her Tianyi calculated mathematically through the numerology that it does. Again, if you want to know what makes these, check out our third video in the series. Monkey was one of the things, the bingo stamps, and monkey is in her chart, of course. As we've seen, monkey is the year branch of her chart. This is a particularly auspicious indicator. It's a very good symbol, even if it's just in the year branch, which we're going to hear about later. We're going to hear about all of these, basically right now. I'm just giving you a sense of what this Shen Sha is all about. And I think I have. Oh, I guess the last thing I should say, for example, in the Tai Chi, that should say T-A-I. Whatever. I messed up the spelling here. Tai Chi suggests a strong connection to intuition and that the person comprehends mysticism from various cultures. Now, our person Jani Yang did not get these two bingo cards. There's no rat in her chart and there's no horse in her chart in the 4 pillars. But Tai Chi, like the rat, will still come in the Da Yun, the 10-year periods, as well as through the years. For example, right now we're in the year of the dog, 2018. 2019 is the year of the boar, and then 2020 is going to be the year of the metal rat. So in 2020, the person who owns this chart, Jani Yang, will be under a Tai Chi sign, the year of the rat. And so that might give her a strong connection to her intuition, and it might compel her to comprehend mysticisms all over the world, or to experience experiences which will give her a deeper comprehension of the symbols of spirituality, and particularly of her own spirituality, and how they relate by contrast to other spiritual techniques and mysticisms. So even though she doesn't have Tai Chi in her 4 pillars, she can still meet the symbols of Tai Chi in the Da Yun and in transiting years. So that's what we've got to think of Shen Sha as. Items that can be seen in the 4 pillars, which means they're a permanent fixture in the chart, as well as items that can be seen in Da Yun and in transit. And what really hits is, for example, if this Jani Yang, she has tiger as her Feng Gong. If she's experiencing a tiger or even like a rabbit, Da Yun, the 10-year period, and then she comes into the year of the tiger, it's a multiple Feng Gong influence, which means that that's what we call confluence. 3 of the different points are all hitting Feng Gong, which means that she will probably have lots of challenges and lessons in that sort of year, hypothetically, if she went through that. Now, the first thing Dr. Karin Taylor Wu notes in her Shen Sha analysis is the condition of the present 10-year Da Yun period, which, as if I understand it, if I was to get a Chinese astrology reading from the author of our text, the first thing they would note is the state of the present 10-year, the Da Yun period. Now, if we go back to Jani Yang's Da Yun, we see that the Da Yun started at April 22nd, 1946, and she was 2 years old, okay? So every 10 years from that point has been a different Da Yun. Now, as we can see, that the particular person in this chart has come to live at least 70 years. And now she is on, I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe even more. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so this is close to the start of her birth. 2 years before, 2 years after her birth. So this would be the first 10-year period, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So she just, sorry, I've got to get this down. She was born around here. So 10 years later, she advanced to the next. So this is her at about 12 years old. She embarked on the rat. Then at 22 years old, she was the boar, 32, 42, 52, 62. So at 72 years old, on 2016, this person embarked on the Da Yun of the Earth Horse. Just to give you a little rundown of all that. So that means that her current Da Yun, which started on 22nd of April 2016, and it's going to last for 10 years. That's what all the Da Yuns last till. Her current Da Yun is the Earth Horse. And we can see that it has 4 different pieces of Shen Sha related with it. So let's see what Dr. Karin Taylor Wu says. She says that during this 10-year period, strong earth and fire energies will be interacting with her Ba-Zi chart. And we expect her financial conditions to improve. Consider that earth, this is kind of an interesting thing. Earth, as we know, since wood is her day stem, the earth is her money star. And the earth is being supported by the horse, which is fire. And that is her talent star. So we've got money star and talent star in this coming Da Yun period. So we can see why Dr. Karin would think that her financial conditions will improve. On the other hand, this also brings more fire to an already excess fire picture. We noted that this particular person has way too much fire in her chart already. So this might bring some challenges to her health status, which means she has probably reduced vitality in this period, and it'll make it more difficult for her to, since her nervous system is being chipped away at, it will be, if she doesn't balance this picture with everything else, even though it's an opportunity, she will be presented with the opportunity to act on the talent star, which will support her money star. But since she already has excess fire, it would be very wise for her to take good care of her heart function specifically during this Da Yun, because fire relates to the heart and I believe to the small intestine. She makes her little commentary on that. She says her financial condition has improved greatly after she separated last year from her partner of 15 years. So recently, on the embarking on this new Da Yun, she actually separated from her partner. And I think her partner, she mentions it earlier, was draining her financially. So, you know, maybe that's an expression of now she's focusing on the fire and earth in herself. So that's Jani Yang's commentary on that, her current Da Yun. The next piece in our analysis, we're going to go through 10 Shen Sha figures. That first one is like the Da Yun, the current Da Yun. And I guess you could call it Shen Sha. The next part of Shen Sha is Feng Gong. We find Feng Gong, the tiger, on her month branch, which is the commander position. Now we know that the commander position is one of those 3 main points in the chart, right? The eye of the chart. The tiger is the month branch, which is the commander, and so that's a key part of her whole life energy throughout her whole life. So Jani Yang has a particular level of spiritual detachment that allows her to delve very deeply into the heart of whatever spiritual traditions she follows. This is what Feng Gong tends to do for us. Jani notes that she's lived through 2 traumatizing experiences, and during these times, her Qigong practice helped keep her in balance, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Qigong is a Taoist philosophy of energy and of sort of like meditation and self-realization. It's like pranayama, getting in touch with your subliminal nervous system impulses instead of letting it control you. Yeah, so that's good enough for that. So we know that this person does actually consciously work towards spiritual detachment from her own nervous system and try to treat it objectively and with impartiality. She's obviously done that probably throughout her whole life, and that has been a boon for her in regards to dealing with her energy systems, even though it was probably achieved through difficulty in the early part of her life. Number 3. Now, Fu Yin is hidden moaning. Fu Yin is found when there is one thing in the 4-pillar chart or in the Taiwan and Ming Gong, which is the same as another point in the chart, or when that point, when one of those pillars is found in the Da Yun or in a transiting year. Note that Fu Yin only works when you have the stem and the branch are the same. For example, you can't just go by, like, this person, Jani, has wood snake on her day branch, fire snake on her Daiwan, and earth snake on her Ming Gong. You might think that, oh, it's the snake and the snake and the snake, so that's Fu Yin, but the Fu Yin doesn't just include the day branch, or doesn't just include the branch. If we saw the day branch of wood snake, and then she also had a Ming Gong of wood snake, they're both the same stem and branch, wood snake and wood snake, which would mean that we are seeing Fu Yin in the main 4 pillars. Now, she doesn't have anything the same in that way in her 4 pillars, or her Daiwan, or her Ming Gong, which means that these will exert their influence when seen in individual years, transiting years, or in the Da Yun, in the 10-year periods. So, for example, the year of Fire Dog Bing Zhu was Fu Yin with her hour pillar. So we can see that her hour pillar is the Fire Dog, right? So when the Fire Dog year happened, whenever that was, the year of Bing Zhu Fire Dog was Fu Yin with her Fire Dog hour pillar. It was the same stem and branch. She may have experienced a severe illness during that time. We would expect the health problem to be related to her digestion function, her eyesight, and or her heart function, because those 3 all relate to the fire chi. Jani Yang's commentary is that she simply says, it's true, I was very sickly during those years. Could be subjective, but again, subjective data piles on to become objective patterns. It's how we learn about astrology, we see the figures and then we do the scientific clinical research which says, yes, the figures relate symptomatically in our physical reality. It's the only way astrologers can really scientify astrology. The next Shen Sha point. Let me just see if I'm good here. Yeah. The next Shen Sha point is Tianyi. Tianyi is the good fortune, and that's that good luck and auspiciousness and virtue. Good luck, noble person is typically how this is described. Now, her Tianyi symbols are ox, goat, rat, and monkey. Particular points in her chart, the way her 4 pillars are, certain points are what create this Tianyi thing. You're looking at this and you're probably thinking, like, where do these points come from? And if you are curious about that, you'll have to check out episode 3 in the series. Note that, if you skip halfway through and go to the Shen Sha part, that's going to give you the stuff that you can't find on the digital software websites. No digital software website is going to give you the calculations for the Shen Sha. You got to do it yourself. Now, Jani Yang's Tianyi is ox, goat, rat, and monkey. Now, we've noted that we find one of these somewhere in her chart. That's the monkey. We find Shen, the monkey, in the year pillar, right? Let's see. Yeah, this is Tianyi. It's the good fortune. These are her 4 bingo items, and she got the monkey. We can see monkey in her year pillar. Her year pillar is the wood monkey, right? So, since she has monkey in her 4 pillars, she generally receives a great deal of an emotional support whenever she encounters some obstacles in life. The emotional factor, particularly, I believe, comes from the year pillar. Dr. Karin Taylor Wu doesn't note that specifically. What she says, and you got to go from her wording, we find Shen in the year pillar, which I believe means, since it's in the year pillar, that she receives emotional support when she encounters some obstacles in life. Her commentary is, she says, it's true, I always had emotional support from my family and friends. Now, here is the Dao Hua, which is the peach blossom. I love talking about the peach blossom because I'm a romantic kind of guy. Her symbols for her Dao Hua are rooster and wu. The peach blossom usually means if you have any of these in your chart, it means that you have either a natural internal beauty, which is if you have any of these 2 figures in the year or month pillar, or if you have, for example, with Jani Yang. If Jani Yang has rooster or horse in her day branch or her hour branch, it gives her an external beauty, although it does cause her to not look as much for internal beauty, which can cause problems for some people. It's not necessarily auspicious. Now, she does not have rooster or horse in any of her 4 pillars, or her Ming Gong, or her Taiwan, which means that when we find a dead note in the Shen Sha, it simply means that they will exert their influence when seen in Da Yun, or in transiting years. For example, her current Da Yun is Wu Wu, which is Earth Horse. That's what we saw as her current Da Yun. And Wu is her peach blossom symbol, which means that she may have a romantic relationship, or, if already partnered, deepen the strength of her relationship during this 10-year period. Jani Yang notes, she makes a little comment. She says, "Yay! I hope I will encounter someone I love in the near future." Yeah, that's what she says there. So, lucky her. She seems like she deserved it. She kicked out the guy that was draining her. So, our next point of Shen Sha for this particular chart is the Yi Ma symbol. Yi Ma means wandering horse. It means traveler and adventure, but it can also mean instability because you have this drive to wander, and it can make you unstable. The 2 symbols for Yi Ma in Jani Yang's chart are tiger and boar. Now, the tiger is once again seen in the month branch, which is the commander position of her Ba Zi. And that's an important figure. The commander is part of the eye of the chart, the 3 main symbols. So it's likely that Jani Yang is an adventurous, well-traveled female, and she has lived in many different places throughout her life, particularly because it's in the 4 pillars. It's not just in the Da Yun. This is a part of her. Her tiger inherently oozes Yi Ma configuration energy. And what Jani Yang says about this analysis is, she says, "It's true. I have lived in Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, India, Hawaii, and mainland United States, and have traveled in Europe, Southeast Asia, and China." That it really is quite a bit. That's awesome. Jealous of that lady. So, we can see that the Yi Ma, expressed as her month branch, her commander, does have an effect on her life. That one is less subjective, you know, that's quite a bit of traveling. I don't know if most people get that kind of thing, and most people don't have Yi Ma on their month branch, right? Checking to see we're all good. Yeah, hi folks. Okay, the 7th point in our Shen Sha, in our Ba Zi analysis. The 7th point is what's called Tian De, and that's noble virtue. So this one comes in the form of a heaven stem. The Tian De, this noble virtue, is always a heaven stem. So, if Jani Yang has ding anywhere in her chart, it means that, well, there's a certain blessing placed. Now, this is found in the Taiwan position. That's her conception energy, right? I would like to show you that. I know I keep going back here to show you these things, but I think it's worth it just to see it. We can see her Dai Huan, which is the month that she was conceived, was presided by Yin Fire Snake. Now, that means that she has this Tian De, this Ding, which is Yin Fire, in that Taiwan position. This shows that the heavens placed a blessing upon Jani Yang at the moment of her conception, and that she has lived her whole life with strong protecting energy from her ancestral line. Again, the Taiwan usually tends to show an ancestral blessing or curse or whatever, right? Depending on the nature of what is given and how your Dai Huan relates to the rest of the chart. So that's a cool thing. What she says is Jani Yang feels that it is so. She says, I've always been protected by someone or by spirit when certain disaster was about to strike. Again, that could be a subjective observation, but obviously this woman must be about 72 years old and she's still kicking and doing okay, so maybe there's some logic to it, or some truth to it. Now, our 8th point in our Shen Sha analysis for Chinese astrology is Tianyi. Tianyi is a homonym with that first really good auspicious symbol that I mentioned. Homonym means it's the same word but with a different meaning. So when we talk about Tianyi as in medicine, it's a different point. Her medicine Tianyi is the symbol of ox. The Tianyi is always just one animal. Ox is not found in her 4 pillars, or her Taiwan, or her Ming Gong, which means that the ox, as medicine luck, will exert its influence when seen in Da Yun. Dr. Karin Taylor Wu doesn't note anything further, and Jani Yang's commentary, she also says no comment on that one, just because there's nothing to unfold or talk about. Even though she could have mentioned that Tianyi, the ox, is somewhere in her Da Yun. It's just nowhere close to where she presently is. Number 9 of the Shen Sha is Wen Chang. Wen Chang is scholarly, elegant, creative. It's auspicious bonus points in regards to scholarliness and elegance and creativity. Now, 2 points are always picked for Wen Chang. The 2 points picked for our example chart is snake and horse. Now, snake is found on her day branch and her Daiwan and her Ming Gong. We see that Jani Yang is gifted with the scholarly skills of literature and writing. At the start, we made a big point of how, she already has lots of talent, as she has an overemphasized fire element, which is her talent star. Snake is the only yang fire animal in the cycle. That being so, there's a lot of Wen Chang, a lot of scholarliness being displayed by the fact that the snake is her day branch and that snake is also her Wen Chang. So she's gifted with scholarly skills of literature and writing. Her current Da Yun, which is the horse, is also her Wen Chang, right? Wen Chang is this very educational, it's got a person that shows a lust to study a particular field of knowledge and to really get it down. She has this in her day branch anyway, as well as her Daiwan and Ming Gong. And her current Da Yun is horse. So this indicates that this 10-year period is a particularly auspicious time for her to continue her studies, perhaps even writing or publishing books, which is an interesting thing to think about. If you're in a Wen Chang year, or particularly a Wen Chang Da Yun, it's an auspicious time for studies, writing, publishing books, or publishing anything related to knowledge. She says, Jani Yang's commentary, she says, good to know. I've published many books, including translations, and I've been working on a new book. We can see this from having Wen Chang on the day branch and everything else, right? She is a very scholarly person. She has 2 master's degrees and a PhD, and she was taught at university level for many years. Just last year, one of my books received a National Book Award. So we can really see the profundity of Wen Chang on the day branch, the Daiwan and the Ming Gong, coming through with all this academic stuff, right? Not only that, but she had Snake as her Ming Gong, which is the palace of knowledge, you know? That, again, astrology is here and there and everywhere, always about the confluence of different elements. When you have several things aimed in that direction, it's more likely that that will manifest. Whereas, you know, like she's got like, you know, these smaller things activated in smaller ways, you know. Tian Yi, Chu, Ox isn't found really anywhere in her chart, so it doesn't unfold as readily as something like Wen Chang does, because Wen Chang is all over her chart. Confluence is the key. Several items of the same object compounding at the same time and in the same place. That's when we really see astrology make an expression in our lives. Finally, before we get into our next example chart, we have the last figure of Shen Sha, which is Tai Chi. Tai Chi relates with mysticism. Usually with someone has an emphasized Tai Chi, it means that they're mystical and they experience lessons which connect them to the importance of the mystical reality within themselves, and which connects them to their reality as pure awareness acting as a creator in material reality. That's the kind of experience that you get from having a Tai Chi emphasis in your whole chart or in Da Yun in transit. Now her Tai Chi symbols are rat and horse. Not found in her 4 pillars, Ming Gong or Daiwan, these will exert their influence when seen in Da Yun. Her current Da Yun is also her Tai Chi cycle, which means that this 10-year period will be particularly rewarding for her spiritually, especially if she is dedicated in her study and practice of her personal spiritual tradition. This can be a dumb note if you're not already a spiritual person. Part of what makes you a spiritual person also comes from, for example, the nakshatras and from tropical Vedic astrology. If you have the capacity for spirituality in your tropical astrology chart, and you come to find that you also have it in your Chinese astrology chart through this Tai Chi, it's confluence. 2 compounding factors which show a greater emphasis of mysticism in the case of Tai Chi. I was also going to say that horse is her present Da Yun period, and the year of the rat, again, is coming up in 2020, which means for this person, that year of the rat has Tai Chi, and it's also the Da Yun of the horse, which means these are 2 compounding points, so that could be a mystical year for her. Jani Yang's commentary on this is that she says, she says perfect. She's glad that, you know, being possibly a spiritual person or a knowledgeable person, she's glad that the year of the horse will afford her spiritual rewards if she puts effort into it. She says, perfect. The overall analysis is amazing. I strive to continue my spiritual practice. So that is Jani Yang's commentary on this point and kind of on the whole synopsis and analysis given by Dr. Karin Taylor Wu. So that was very cool. That was a full expression of all of these symbols of astrology that we have learned so far. Wow, look at my hair, it looks so small right now. Yeah, I like when my hair is more explosive. Anyway, yeah, bleh. Mr. Teacher over here. That was our description of the whole picture of the basic fundamental elements of a chart and of Bazi analysis. Now, we've already been going at this video for quite a little while. It's about an hour and 40 minutes in. I do have a whole other chart prepared, and we're going to go through it right now. But I'm going to try to condense it a little bit so that you can see the whole flow of the thing with me jabbering a little bit less on the in-betweens. Before we do that, I'm just going to take a peek at our YouTube comments, see if we've got anything interesting. Goosey, what would your talent star be? Goosey, your talent star comes when you, if you look up your signs and you find your day pillar. You have to look up all 4 pillars. And you can usually look them up all at once on these websites that I've shown before. For example, on these websites here. MasterPsi.com, for example. If you look up Master Psi, you look up your 4 pillars, your 4-pillar chart, and Master Psi will tell you what your day pillar is. And that from the day pillar includes your day stem and your day branch. Now, whatever your day stem is, the talent star is going to be the element that is fed by your day stem. For example, my day stem is water. I'm the water horse on my day pillar. Since I'm the water horse, I know that water feeds wood, which means the wood element is my talent star. If you look up your day, if you look up your pillars, Goosey, then you can find your, if you tell me your day stem, I'll easily be able to let you know what your talent star is. Now, Miss Bright has asked, I'm assuming Miss Bright means which do you believe in more? Ah, yes, Chinese zodiac or Vedic. So, part of what I've been attempting to describe in these videos, that's a great question, Miss Bright, and thank you for contributing. Part of what we're trying to do with these videos is explain that Chinese astrology and Vedic astrology are describing 2 different dimensions of the energy field. Chinese astrology talks more about externalized nervous system workings, neurological workings. I always like to say that Chinese astrology is focused on a dimension of your nervous system which you elicit unconsciously from yourself. Everybody has a nature which they exert from themselves to the outer world. We need to feed our day stem, we need to feed ourselves, and it's also good to feed and nurture the world around us in a continuum. That is a dimension of ourselves, which is one dimension, and you can't find that dimension in Vedic astrology. That doesn't make Vedic astrology wrong. That doesn't make them entirely different. It just means that they're 2 different fields. I hope you understand, Miss Bright. These are 2 totally different fields. So when you ask me which I believe in more, I think that they both have data, which is 2 separate channels of data. And I think that it's good to learn them both. It's not like they're two different ways of saying the same information. This says Chinese astrology is not like an interpretation of tropical Vedic astrology. They're two whole different charts. And they describe two completely different parts of the metaphysical makeup of the human soul and of conscious awareness. Sounds good. That's a great idea, Goosey. If you get a journal, you find out about yourself and you write them all down, and you can learn a whole lot about yourself by doing that. I know Goosey even trying to connect with me. I've just been busy, and I know one of these days we'll smash it all together and have a fun day talking about the elements of your chart. Thank you very much for these informative questions, Miss Bright and Goosey. I'm going to, well, we've got the rest of our lesson to do. And I hope that helped, Miss Bright. Feel free to let me know if there's any concerns with what I just said, and I'll try to reiterate them the next time I come back to our YouTube comments and questions. But I hugely invite these contributions and questions, because I don't want this just to be me just doing my thing on camera. I know that right now there's only so many viewers that are going to join us, but eventually I'm going to try to do like a weekly episode type thing, and then people will be always welcome to ask questions and to contribute. Because Chinese astrology tells us, more than anything else in the world, that we'll never be happy unless we join our efforts with other energy fields. Because all of the multifaceted energy fields make up the unity that we seek to embody. Everyone else's bliss is just as important in the cultivation of your own bliss. Because we are animals with sensitive nervous systems, and our nervous system is sensitive to the nervous system of other people, and that's why we all need each other in order to embody the bliss that we seek within ourselves. I wish that was a point more prevalent in tropical Vedic astrology, but tropical Vedic tends to be figuring out what your soul is all about, which is important. It's just like a tree. It's like vines, when they let me say this point. Vines, when they intersect and interrelate, they hold each other and they make each other strong by their interconnections. But those connections made, once they emerge from the soil, have to come from a deep-rooted strength in their own pot in the soil. That's why tropical Vedic astrology focuses on where your plant is and the health of your karma and your soul and the plant before it emerges from the dirt of your internal perception. Once it emerges from the dirt, Chinese astrology teaches us the nature of the vine and how to interweave it with other vines and with other nervous systems outside of ourselves. Now, I hope that has answered some questions. Anybody who feels any more questions, feel free to ask, and we'll get to them when we are finished with the second part of our lesson. And thank you for contributing. Okay. Next, you know what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to get a little bit of water. Oh, I got some water. Okay. So that I don't die. That's important. In fact, I'm going to recharge my water reserve. I'm also going to go to the bathroom. And when we come back, we're going to finish the rest of our lesson. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for your patience. When the boar's gotta go, the boar's gotta go. The boar is my commander. It's yang water. And so I find that I'm just always constantly expressing energy, and I'm guided by earth, which means I'm paying very much attention to these things that I'm trying to hold together. Earth tends to be outside of yourself, and so I tend to take a lot of care and interest in the things outside of myself, like this YouTube thing, for example. And every now and then I ignore myself and I get to a point where it's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. When the boar's gotta go, the boar's gotta go. So, continuing on with our putting it all together Bazi analysis, we are going to now analyze through our text source, calculating the Bazi. We are going to analyze how Dr. Karin Taylor Wu has word for word pinpointed all of the points in this person's chart. It's a real chart of a real person, and we're going to read Jani Yin's commentaries as we go along. We've got water ox on the year pillar. We've got metal monkey on the month pillar. We've got water tiger on the day pillar. Excuse me. And we've got fire horse on the hour pillar, as well as metal boar on the Taiwan, the conception energy, and wood tiger on the Ming Gong, which is the palace of destiny. We can also see certain Shen Sha points throughout the whole chart. This is a good time for me. So now that we've described what all these Shen Sha points are, this is an opportunity for you guys, since you're starting to see the whole thing. Now, when we first look at a chart, it's very cool to be able to, well, you know, the most important parts, as we're going to talk about, is these 3 points. Again, the day stem, the commander, and the day branch. That is the eye of the chart. And most of our, basically the hugest, most critical dimension of describing the Chinese chart is going to come from envisioning the day stem, which is Ren, and how it balances with everything else. Hello?
Oh.
I'm busy, Mom.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll get you in like an hour, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, thanks, Mom. Sorry about that, folks. If it was an emergency, my mom would have barged in, and the fact that she didn't means that she's being patient with me. Whew. So, these are the main points in the chart, but it's still a great exercise to see how the Shen Sha, we can see the Shen Sha in all these points before we even get into dissecting it. And sometimes it can just be very cool to see, for example, that this person's got Yi Ma, the wandering horse energy, as well as Tai Chi, mystic cultural wisdom, on the month branch, which I think that our last chart might have also had. Let me just take a quick peek at that. Oh, not quite the same, but almost the same. We had Feng Kong and Yi Ma on the month branch of Jani Yang. Now, Jani Yin has Yi Ma and Tai Chi. Tai Chi and Feng Kong are kind of similar, but Feng Kong teaches you more about your own internal karma. Tai Chi tends to teach you about how the world of spirituality unfolds in a way that everybody sees and relates to. It's like everybody, you know, the mysticism of our nervous systems and of our souls follow a pipeline of metaphysical logic. Tai Chi can help you see this pipeline, which is connected with everybody. Feng Gong, which this person has on his day branch, Feng Gong can teach you how your energy relates to the pipeline of logic and truth. Feng Gong teaches how your personal stuff isn't working out, and you got to figure out why. Anyway, so we've got water tiger on the day pillar, fire horse on the hour pillar, And you can see the Shen Sha in these pillars before we even get into them. And this is Jani Yin's Da Yun. I didn't have the need to put in all of them because Jani Yin is a bit younger than our last chart. Okay, now let's get started. First of all, the same analyzing tip. This is the key one that I wanted to keep even for the second chart. So whenever we read a chart, the key point is checking whether the element of the day stem is in balance with respect to the rest of the chart. The day stem is the emperor, the self, the closest unconscious symbol of the unfurling nervous system. And it is therefore the mouth of soul economy, where Chinese astrology is regarding. It's the mouth of the river is the day stem. So you don't want to lean too much on the other parts of the river when you could get it from the soul. I want to just put the whole thing in here because I'm trying to relate it specifically to things that relate to our analysis. So, with that all being said, let's take the picture now of this chart as someone with an excess, a weak water because the water is in excess. The month branch only helps to have too much of that excess. And if anything, the day branch, I suppose, the wood day branch here, even though, like we said, wood is not well represented, which means there's not enough, especially because there's so much metal. The wood, there's not a lot of wood, which means the wood has no chance to drain from the day stem, which I suppose isn't usually a good thing anyway. In any case, it's never a good picture to have your day branch drain your day stem, even if the day stem is in excess. The idea is for the day stem to not be in excess and for it to be the power center that exerts control and balance and rulership over the other dimensions in the chart. So we see an excess of water in this day stem. Now we're going to talk about Jani Yin's Ming Gong. Now, Jani Yin has wood tiger as his Ming Gong, his destiny, his palace of destiny. The stem is Jia and the branch is tiger, which are both yang wood. Now, having both yang wood elements here, usually, it's interesting to note that Dr. Karin doesn't always make a statement about the stem element of the Ming Gong. She usually just says if you've got tiger, it means you've got tiger gong, yin gong, and it's the palace of leadership. She usually just gives you the palace. But it's, you know, because there's so much wood here, it does affect the chart. And it creates a strong fighting energy with the yang metal elements of the month pillar. Because her month pillar, as we know, is metal monkey. And the Ming Gong is wood tiger, which are not only contradictory in the elements, because we know that metal cuts wood, but we know that tiger and monkey are opposites as well. So, Shen, monkey, in the commander position, will likely cut down the yang wood of his Ming Gong. And this Ming Gong is supposed to be like a secret pipeline of destiny, of data energy, which he could take advantage of. But the monkey probably will cut out the capacity to use that Ming Gong. Now, the Ming Gong, just like everything else, has a health. It relates somehow to the health of the organs of the nervous system. From a health perspective, this weakened yang wood suggests problems with his head, neck, spine, gallbladder, immune system, and or lymph system, which all relate to wood. Dr. Karin notes that luckily, yin, tiger, is also his Feng Gong. This helps reduce the potentially problematic influence of this metal-wood conflict, which means since Tiger, as we can see, is her Feng Gong, she probably, oh, it's he actually, Jani Yin has probably had experiences which give him an impartiality in regards to these dissonant tones in his energy field. He probably sees them both and can detach himself from it and say, I know my important part of my psyche, the wood, is being cut and being reduced, but I have to deal with it in balance rather than getting frustrated or angry with it. He probably learned this through early childhood experiences of Feng Gong, since the Feng Gong is in. But without further ado, all we can do is look what happened in the karma of the past, and move on with positive intentions. Now, so since we've described the main parts of Jani Yin's chart, this is supposed to say Jani Yin. Geez, I am all over it on this one, eh? This says Jani Yang, but it's supposed to be Jani Yin. Now that we've looked at the main parts of Jani Yin's chart, we're going to look at the Shen Sha. If you're curious about Shen Sha and how to calculate it, check out the third video in this series, Calculating the Ba Zi, where we talk about how to calculate all the points we see in the Shen Sha chart. Now we know this is a bingo card. One of the points of his Feng Gong that were picked was Tiger. Tiger is on his day branch and his Ming Gong, obviously, right? So he is going to have to deal with Feng Gong in relation to that point, the Tiger. He's got Tai Chi and the Monkey, and Monkey was his month branch, his commander, which means that he probably inherently has a certain mysticism about him, etc., right? These are the bingo cards we're given, and the purple circle represents the fact that the person called that bingo number, you know? Jani Yin got B11, or, you know, I-27, whatever it is that is represented here, right? Metaphorically speaking. Okay, so let's start talking about Jani Yin's Shen Sha. Before I do that, I would just like to take a quick little peek at any comments that anybody might have made. Okay, Jason. Cool. Oh, I'm glad that Miss Bright enjoyed what I said. Oh, cool. Alright, so I'm glad you guys are getting a little bit of a kick out of all this stuff. Now let's continue on with our lesson. Okay. The first thing Dr. Karin Taylor notes when she does an analysis is the condition of the present 10-year Da Yun period. So for our friend, Jani Yin, his current date Da Yun, when we go back to his Da Yun, this is Jani Yin's Da Yun. It began at the 27th of June, 1982, when he was 8 years old. So this represents him at 8 years old. When he was 18, in 1992, he started the next one, which is the Earth Horse. When he was 28 in 2002, he started the next one, which was Fire Snake. These are 10-year periods, as we know. Presently, we're in the period, literally, of, you know, in between 2012 and... For some reason, I skewed this off and made this 2024. But in any case, this should say from 27th of June 2012 to the 27th of June 2022. That is our current period, and that is the current Da Yun of Jani Yin. Jani Yin being a real person. So his current Da Yun is the 10-year period between 2012 and 2024. It is ruled by Fire Dragon, which means that this 10-year period will be steeped with everything that Fire Dragon represents. Fire Dragon. So during fire is fire, and dragon is actually an earth element animal. If you want to know why that is, it's in the energetic body, which is something you can learn about in episode 2 of our series. Now, during this 10-year Da Yun, the predominant energetic forces influencing Jani Yin's life will not be balancing. The fire likely stirs up the underlying conflict in his chart, which could result in further weakening of the metal element. And so that is what the Fire Dragon Da Yun is doing. The fire stirs the underlying conflict in the chart. Let's take a peek at that. Probably doesn't help the water Destem. I could see how it would, the fire would melt the industry of the metal that is going on in the person's, in this chart. Adding extra fire to this whole picture would drain the Destem and it would drain the wood as well. Although it would say a little something, it would give them a little bit of money star. But that money star would still conflict with the underlying nervous system tensions that are involved in this excess water chart. And it further weakens the metal element. In the wood fire horse year of this Da Yun, which was actually just only a little bit ago, 2014 would have been the year of the wood horse. So in that year, he was likely exacerbated, and he may have suffered from some illness related with the lung or large intestine system. I suppose that the lung and large intestine system relates with the metal element as well, because the fire of Bing and the heaven stem of the Da Yun combined with the year, because the year means a transiting year. So he was in the 10-year period of Fire Dragon, which is a personal thing, but 2014 was the wood horse, and everybody experiences the wood horse. The wood would feed the fire of the horse, and that means that there was a whole lot of fire going on, and that doubly stirred up the conflict of what this analysis of the Fire Dragon shows on this chart. And Jani Yang has a commentary, and he notes that in 2014, in the area of 2014, he experienced traumatic events and faced extremely challenging decisions, obviously relating to his cancer. You can see the balance of the Destem. But with study, anything can be diligently worked out and figured out, as this is a science. Now, figure 2 of the Shen Sha is Feng Gong. We see Feng Gong, which is the tiger. Tiger was one of the points of Feng Gong, and tiger is in his day branch, the partner sign. See, tiger is his day branch, as well as it's also in his Ming Gong. The day branch is the partner sign, and the Ming Gong is the destiny position. This means that he likely got married relatively late in life, after the age of 30. The presence of Feng Gong also lets us know that he is a person with a high level of spiritual clarity, because it's in the day branch and the Ming Gong. So there's a lot of Feng Gong there. He's probably gone through spiritual experiences which have helped to reinstate his overall ability to include listening to his heart and his nervous system in the way that he survives in his material reality and the way that he conducts himself in the material world. Feng Gong has probably given him some spiritual experiences, which has caused him to desire to include his heart and his nervous system in his dealings. He says he got married at 36 years old in 2009. Look at that. He was raised in an open-minded atheist family where religion and spirituality were not emphasized. At age 24, he began practicing yoga, qigong, meditation, and various healing arts. And years of inner cultivation have definitely gifted his life with more spiritual and emotional clarity. So the things that were happening to him caused him to desire to internally harness the waves of his emotional spheres through diligent practice from within. Feng Gong ensured that he would have experiences that would cause him to want to do that. Fu Yin. So there's not much Fu Yin. Fu Yin means that the stem and branch of something in the four pillars relates, or in the Taiwan and Ming Gong, something in here might be the same. For example, if he had water tiger on his Ming Gong, the stem and branch are the same as his day pillar, and that would be Fu Yin. Now, we don't see anything like that. Nothing matches exactly to anything in the main figures of the chart. So for the sake of filling in this, thing, Dr. Karin notes that the water ox in 2037 to 2047, the Da Yun is going to be water ox. Let's take a peek at that. So this is Jani Yin's Da Yun. We just missed it. Maybe the next one after the tiger. Because we can see that this person's Da Yun is going backwards. So it would go fire dragon. Before the fire dragon is the wood rabbit. Before the wood rabbit is the wood tiger. And before the wood tiger is the water ox. So that would be the next year. Now, we know from his chart that the water ox is his year pillar. So that 10-year period from whatever it was, 2037 to 2047. Yeah, well, that particular point of Da Yun is Fu Yin is the same fixture as his year pillar. So this means that this 10-year cycle may present him with some significant life challenges. Fu Yin is called hidden moaning. And whenever you experience either a year or a Da Yun, which is the exact same stem and branch as a figure of your main chart, it's going to cause some significant life challenges. It's going to focus very heavily on that. In his case, it'll be the year pillar. And the best and worst parts of that dimension of his psyche are going to be emphasized and expressed, in which case it will be an opportunity for him to glean the cream from the milk, to get the best of his year pillar, to integrate it, and also to let go of that which is not conducive to the total growth of his soul and his spirit and his nervous system. So during that Da Yun, he's going to be presented with some life challenges that could ultimately be rewarding if he takes it with a spiritual perspective, which he probably will because of the Feng Gong going on in his chart. Now, the fourth point is Tian Yi. This is that very good, auspicious marker in the chart. The Tian Yi given to Jani Yin is rabbit and snake. Because as I said, each of these Shen Sha points are different for each person. His are rabbit and snake. Rabbit and snake are not found in his, not found in his four pillars, his Daiwan, or his Ming Gong. So these Tianyi points will exert most of their influence when seen in the Da Yun, in the transits. For instance, we see the snake in his 2002 to 2012 Da Yun. We expect that he experienced the general flow of his life during this period as pretty smooth. We can see that there is a strange inference between the years. Usually these years go by 10-year periods. So the fact that this says 2037 to 2047, and that's what it says in the book too. It's not a misnomer on my part. So I guess, with any textbook, with any book, there's bound to be little mistakes that we have to figure out for ourselves where these mistakes are coming from. It seems to me like Dr. Karin Taylor Wu might have made a mistake in describing that ox period as being ending in a 7. But in any case, we see the snake in his 2002 to 2012 Da Yun. So that's the Da Yun just before his present one. That's right. So his present one is the fire dragon, which started in 2012. 10 years before that, started in 2002, that was the snake. And the snake has Tianyi, which is good fortune. So during that period, we can expect that he experienced the general flow of his life as being pretty smooth. Jani Yang comments and says, yeah, during my 30s, I enjoyed good, vibrant physical energy. Could have been the fact that he was 30. We got to always consider the subjective nature of these commentaries. He had flexible jobs, which created opportunities for spiritual growth and meaningful travel experiences. So that doesn't happen to everyone at 30. So that could be partly an expression of this Tianyi during that 10-year period. So next is the Dao Hua, the peach blossom. The Dao Hua elements signs chosen for Jani Yin are the horse, Wu, and Mao, the rabbit. We find his peach blossom, the horse, in his hour branch. So therefore, we know that it is an external peach blossom. We explained this in episode 3, Calculating the Ba Zi. If you want to know all about the Shen Sha, just skip halfway through that episode and where I start talking about the Shen Sha, and you'll see the reasoning behind why when you find the peach blossom sign, the Dao Hua, in the hour branch or the day branch, we consider it an external peach blossom, which is not always auspicious. It means that you can probably get a lot of, I'm inclined to say love luck. It tends to mean that you're sexy in a certain way and that you can get along in reality without having to hold the door open for anybody because you're good looking. It's a bit of an extremified diagnosis. And if you have the peach blossom on your hour branch, it tends to mean that you look for external beauty in people and that people look for external beauty in you. But that beauty might not be all that lasting or significant or meaningful. It might actually distract you from your spirituality and from a deeper lived experience of love in your life. But Dr. Karin gives this one a positive mark. She says that Jani Yin generally has strong romantic energy and may have had a series of non-monogamous relationships specifically during his 1992 to 2002 Da Yun 10-year period. I wonder why that is. Well, when we look over there, we see that 1992 to 2002 is Wu, and that is his Dao Hua, which means that for this 10-year period, he probably had some good romance luck. We also see the rabbit in 2022 to 2032, which probably has a similar positive romantic vibration and positive romantic luck. So it should be easy for him to be happy and partnered in his life, particularly because Wu, his Dao Hua, is on his hour branch. Jani Yin notes that in that period from 1992 to apparently 2004, he struggled to discover his own path of spiritual clarity and emotional harmony. Now, this shows the weird non-monogamous side of this aspect, especially because he already has the horse on his hour branch. So that has a lot to do with everything that he is. Because it's in the main chart, that peach blossom on the hour branch probably has affected his whole psychological standing in life. And it's probably is a part of the conception of who he is. Now, he had to really face it in its extreme during that 1992 period because that was the horse Da Yun. What he says is that from 1992 to 2004, I struggled to discover my own path of spiritual clarity and emotional harmony. During those years, I suffered from an unresolved emotional trauma of being sexually molested as a preteen, which distorted my perception of the important bonding of sexual intimacy and emotional love. Consequently, both of these factors led me to fear intimate emotional relationships, and it thus caused him to engage in many non-monogamous relationships. God bless him for his honesty in describing this. He notes that after eventually finding emotional clarity going through those hard experiences, he began to experience more monogamous relationships, and he has been happily married since 2009. It's almost as if, having found how superficial the external beauty is and really hammering hard on it by this disturbing emotional trauma in youth, which caused him to only have superficial relationships. By being emphasized during that period, he found that it wasn't enough to satisfy what he deeply desires, and it gave him more proof of wanting something more than just that external peach blossom. And so he took that and made it easy for him. It's easy for him to be happy and partnered in life, and his partner, if he's willing to, he's balancing this initial conceptual energy in his chart. He's learned about it, and he's taken the cream, the best parts of it, and left the junk behind. And he's taken his hour peach blossom on his hour branch and given it in love to his partner, to whom he's been happily married since 2009. Beautiful end to the story. And it just kind of shows us how something can start off as inauspicious and weird and possibly even bad, and it can be turned and channeled into something more productive and constructive, as long as it happens through experience. And experience only happens when we open our hearts to the nature of our nervous system and become aware of it in our dealings in reality. And that's why we aspire to be astrologers. Number 6 is Yi Ma. Yi Ma means the wandering horse, the traveler, and it can also show instability. His given Yi Ma points are the boar, Hai is the boar, and Shen is the monkey. The boar is seen in the Daiwan position. Therefore, we consider the possibility that his mother might have a degree of instability during her pregnancy. It's very interesting. So, when Jani Yin was born, he was born during a month which has Yi Ma for him. Now, that month where he was conceived is still a part of him, and it was probably conceived in a scattered energy, in an adventurous, wandering horse energy. We can see how it doesn't say too much about him overall, but every piece of what we are, including our conception at birth, says something about the mystical torrent of everything that we are. So, So having Bo in the Taiwan position, having Yi Ma in the Taiwan, means that his mother might have had a degree of instability during her pregnancy. And that does streak through. We also see Shen, the monkey, in his month branch, the commander position. So Jani Yang must be an adventurous male and is likely to be a great world traveler. Jani Yang comments that his mother has expressed no degree of emotional instability during her pregnancy. So, 6 months prior to his birth, his parents decided to buy a home and moved from their apartment to live across the street from his mother's parents. Their intention was to provide perinatal stability and support, but the timing of the move has suggested to me that it may have caused a brief period of physical instability during the transition of moving into their new home. So he's basically what he's saying. He's trying to agree. He's saying there wasn't emotional instability at the time, but things were moving around. And he says, yes, I'm particularly adventurous when it involves world travel. I love cultural and ecological tourism. Too bad he doesn't say where he's traveled to like the other one did. Tian De is noble virtue. The Tian De chosen for this chart is Gui, yin water. Now we saw that Jani Yin has a heavenly blessing in his year stem. Dr. Karin Taylor Wu notes that particularly this seems to be a very good auspicious symbol. Although there are some fundamental imbalances in this Ba-Zi chart, the potential negative effects are somewhat mitigated by the influence of this auspicious star. He's protected by energy from the universe, from the natural world, and/or from his ancestral lineage, particularly relating to the year stem. Jani Yin has a whole lot to say about that, and about how an inner voice told him during his cancer that he would not survive if his spirit didn't stay positive and lost its will. He went through a lot of things, and he says that I felt as though my physical body was like a car that had run out of gas and was running only on his positive spiritual fumes, like, you know, when you're running on fumes because you got no gas. So that is his interpretation of this, that he did have some support through his hard times. It might have come from the universe, from the natural world, and/or from his ancestral lineage. He interprets it as having kind of come from in himself, but that confidence and spirituality in himself might have also been proffered by the help of his year stem and his family. I'd say that makes sense to me. Yeah, so that's the Tian De, and it's generally a pretty good auspicious symbol for the whole chart, really. So for Tian Yi medicine, once again, this Shen Sha is given short thrift in this chart. His Tian Yi is sheep, the goat. It's not found in his 4 pillars or his Taiwan or his Ming Gong, which means it will exert its influence when seen in the Da Yun. Particularly Tian Yi medicine just means like good medicine luck. It's luck in regards to personal healing physiologically and in everything. Everything physiologically wise. Specifically, it usually relates to if you find it in your Da Yun, for example, that whole 10-year period will make you think about important elements of your shamanic energy field or of your organ systems. The year will show you that you need to be thinking about certain parts of your organ system that will keep you healthy overall. And it might even make you have an organ failure. But it would be usually, this is considered an auspicious thing, and anything that happens is usually done as a mystical part of your own energy field, trying to get a hold of itself, particularly regarding the organ system and the medicine of the body. Next is Wen Chang for Jani Yin. Wen Chang tends to note a scholarliness, an elegance, and a creativity. Yin, tiger, and Mao, which is rabbit, are his given Wen Chang symbols. Now, we don't see rabbit anywhere, although we see it in the Da Yun. But we do see Yin, the tiger. Whenever you see the word yin in front of tiger, tiger's Chinese name is yin. So it's kind of confusing because you can think yin is in yin and yang. But in any case, yin is the Chinese word for tiger. So we see the tiger in his day branch, the partner position, and in his Ming Gong. This means that Jani Yin has had a refined quality of scholarship and study and is skilled in literature and writing, particularly from the day branch and, well, yeah, the day branch and the Ming Gong. All his life, he has had Wen Chang on his partner position, the day branch, the way he deals with his world, and with the Ming Gong, which is that pipeline of positive natural growth coming from the background of the nervous system. The Ming Gong is the palace of destiny, and it shows how your destiny tends to unfold. And he has Wen Chang in his Ming Gong, which says a lot about this scholarship, and the fact that it's on the day branch too, it really smashes it in there. So he may spend, so that's for him in his whole life. And he may spend a lot of time writing books for publication during the 2022 to 2042 Da Yun periods. Let's see what those are all about. That's obviously, it's going to be tiger and rabbit, right? Yeah. So we can see 2022 is what that's supposed to say, till 2042 is all rabbit and tiger, which are his Wen Chang signs. So this whole period could be a great time for him to study, to focus on his studies, and even to write books for publication, because that's what Wen Chang is all about. It's this scholarly, creative energy. Jani Yin comments that reading, writing, and literature were very challenging for him during his formative years. He was influenced by ADD and an always-on-the-go lifestyle. But he has slowly developed a passion for learning to read, write, and speak other languages. It's something of a form of meditation for him. He discovered it has improved his ability in English as well. And it's only recently that he's envisioned writing for publication in the future. So, I guess he had the opportunity to jump on this Wen Chang, and in the tiger position and everything. He's got the Wen Chang and his tiger in his partner position, but perhaps maybe because his wood isn't that strong in his chart, it didn't come through with the opportunity the way it could. Maybe we can consider that he had, a lot of metal in his chart, and the metal fought that Ming Gong. It had a fighting energy with the wood of the tiger, which means that the Wen Chang of the tiger had less opportunity to express itself, and he had less opportunity to jump on the opportunity of the Wen Chang because of the metal in his chart. Something to think about. And finally, we have Jani Yin's Shen Sha, Spirits and Ghosts. Our Tai Chi. Tai Chi is another one of the Shen Sha. Tai Chi relates with mysticism. His two Tai Chi symbols are monkey and snake. Now, Jani Yin has Tai Chi in the month branch, his commander position, because we know that his commander, his month branch, is the monkey. This mystic star, it's a good thing, it's a huge thing to have Tai Chi in one of your three main symbols, the eye of the chart. In this case, it's the month branch, which is the commander. This mystic star helps Jani Yin to transform and release any obstacles he faces in life. This auspicious star ensures that Jani Yin has ample support from his family and friends, and this has held true throughout his entire life, especially because it's in the commander position. It's not just the Da Yun, it's a part of him. With Tai Chi acting as commander, Jani Yin has great potential for deep and significant spiritual awakening. Tends to mean that the way he commands his reality, the way he tries to harness the energies of his reality, tends to invoke that metaphysical pipeline I was talking about. It tends to just naturally be attuned to the mysticisms of Qi and the flow of energy and harmony. These things tend to crop up in his experience, and so he has a deep potential for significant spiritual awakening, because the way he commands his reality consciously is naturally forthcoming of this mystical vibration. So, my lordy, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? Let's have one last word on how Jani Yin comments on that Shen Sha. He says that I have faith that there's a blessing hidden within every misfortune. Many friends and family members and even strangers showed up to provide lots of support during his cancer treatment. This overwhelming amount of love and support was a significant spiritual awakening, and it gave him the strength to just transform his disease. That's his commentary to this particular mysticism thing. It's hard to say whether that really reflects on his Tai Chi as the commander. Again, the commentaries are always just going to be this momentary interpretations of the person hearing it. But of course, it really takes, someone who is conceiving, the Taoist practitioner, to really conceive of how a point like this Tai Chi on the month branch really comes through in the person's life. But it's still cool to hear the commentaries, like I said, just to get the person's sense. Because that's what we tried to do here today, is we tried to see individual charts as a whole conception, a holistic conception, and to see how each of these points in Ba Zi relates to the unfoldment of the person's karma. Okay. So that was a long go, folks. We're ending just at, we started at 4 and we're ending at 7. I'd say that that's worked out pretty good. I'm going to check out one last time to see any of our comments. Nice, this is cool. Got some good comments here. I'm glad Miss Bright was liking what I was telling her. This thing's a little weird. Cool. Okay, folks, so that was putting it all together. I hope that this has given you guys a glimpse into the fact, as we always say in astrology, just as the greats in the tropical astrology world are always inferring, that you have to see the whole chart in confluence, and to see when certain points, certain objects of a chart ring to the same tune, ring with the same figure. That's when we can really expect to see the chart showing an influence manifested in the person's life, in reality, in the person's life. So that's why it's important to see the whole chart, instead of just looking at your Shen Sha and saying, oh look, I've got Tian De on my month stem, that means I've got great luck, or to look at your Tian De and say, oh no, I don't have that auspicious star on anything, that means I'm screwed, right? It's not necessarily so. There are many points to consider when configuring any astrology chart, and Chinese astrology is no different. In fact, even in the realm of just Chinese astrology. You could have all these points in Chinese astrology, and if those points are not equally forthcoming in the tropical Vedic astrology or in the nakshatras, it'll have a harder time to manifest. Although, again, they are three different systems. If you've got heavy water emphasis in your Chinese astrology and you have no water in your tropical astrology, they aren't going to balance each other. You're going to have too much water in your chi field, and then you'll also find no water forthcoming in the tropical Vedic astrology, because they're two different dimensions representing two different things. And that is the attitude we ought to have towards them. But confluence is confluence, and having one thing leaning in tropical Vedic astrology, if a similar meaning thing is conveyed in the Chinese astrology, the two of them will show a mutual abridgment in physical reality. It's just the nature of the beast, folks. We have to be able to take all these symbols and integrate them in a holistic picture within the alchemical laboratory of our own minds, our own figures and the symbols and understandings. We have to smash them all together at once and find the singularity of meaning and purpose that comes from all the scattered bits of data. That is the nature of astrology. We have to read and build upon all of the different types of astrology together, with confluence and the compounding of each other. Or else we'll never really fully see the picture of ourselves. And if we really only emphasize one of these astrological fields at the expense of the other two, we might be putting more of our chips in a basket that's less auspicious than we think. Although again, if you read your tropical Vedic astrology chart and it says that you should put your chips here, it will automatically imply that you're also putting your chips in the proper place in the other fields. I wonder if that's confusing. No matter what, if you read a tropical astrology chart, a Western chart, and it tells you something about your life, it's its own dimension, it's its own limb. And so you should consider that as a critical part of yourself. But it's like, the tropical Vedic astrology is an inner eye, and then the Chinese astrology is an outer eye. And if you only get the inner eye thing and you ignore the outer eye, then you won't work as well. You may do very well on that internal soul field, but you'll miss out on the material vision and understanding and self-awareness that can come from the outer eye of Chinese astrology. So, your tropical Vedic astrology pursuits will give you something that you need. It will tell you, basically everything that you need, because it's the deeper internal center. But you'll miss out on the outside, and as we know, as within, so without, as above, so below. All three of these astrology types are critical, crucial, inexorable in understanding how your energy field relates to the energy field of the world around you. The nakshatras, the tropical Vedic astrology, and Chinese astrology. Now that we're at the end of our Chinese astrology series, which is what this series has been really focused on, now that we've gotten to the end of it, my next bunch of videos, I'm hoping once I find the time to do them, will be more concerned with how does Chinese astrology relate to tropical Vedic astrology and to the nakshatras. Eventually I'm going to do a series that talks about how if you're a Scorpio, born in the year of the rat, how do those two relate and what does it mean? I'm very excited to do that, and you're going to be hearing about it soon. For now, until we get there, I'm Dustin Cormier for How to Rock Spirit. I hope you guys have enjoyed this synopsis of Bazi and Chinese astrology, and more to come. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to take one last peek at our comments.